In the summer of 2010, I got on the bus to take a journey across the country to learn about history, politics, and activism by meeting with people and organizations that represent various sides of the issues. This journey has really shaped who I am by developing my interest in majoring in political science, becoming involved in student government, and I also feel really well informed to speak my mind about social and political issues that are so relevant today.
This all started when I was a synagogue youth director. In developing my ideas on experiential education and how to use them to raise the bar in what we did with teens and what they would allow to happen in a youth group. I felt we could and should do better, deeper, smarter programming. And what I found out was that the teens went for it. I used to take my youth group on a trip to explore a different city every year. And I just put those lessons that I learned from doing that to the test by taking teens on the road and engaging in 36 days of experiential education. I found out that the lessons I taught with the Jewish youth group were actually a universal message, and these lessons can be extended to us all. What we're doing here is we're giving teens a new way to talk and a new way to enter and engage with the world. My goal? I want to move us forward through civil discourse, to change the way we talk to each other in America, to get people to give a damn.
So all of a sudden, I want to give you permission to leave school behind, let go, and spend a few weeks saying what's on your mind, not what you think I want to hear. This is all about what you think. Think about the other people and understand our connection to them. This whole trip is about making connection.
For experiential education to be impactful, it must be put in a context. Starting the journey in Atlanta with teaching about the civil rights movement, it's the foundation of what I'm teaching, to understand that we're all connected. So we show that the lessons of the civil rights movement are as alive today as they were in the 1950s and 60s.
Coming from such a diverse city like New York, obviously I thought about civil rights, I thought about diversity, but physically going to the source, speaking to the source, that's the most authentic way to get information. And that's how you understand the feelings involved and the lives that have been changed.
Your history and my history go hand in hand now.
Reverend Williams was literally part of the civil rights movement, like a fundamental part of it, and just seeing that was incredible.
The civil rights movement is sort of like the preface for what the whole theme of the rest of the trip is.
Good education, it should tell a narrative. One of our major narratives is that no one is the other, that I am connected to you. What impacts you impacts me. And to better understand this, one of our first stops on the journey is to the Names Project, the AIDS quilt.
Back in the 80s, HIV and AIDS impacted a specific community that did not have power in America, did not have a voice, the homosexual community. Just like in the civil rights movement, white America was saying, black America, that's the other. It's going to come back to you. There is no other.
People are so closely related, and one thing that can help someone can in turn end up helping you.
It's important to keep everything in perspective, to think about how everything is connected.
Experiential education, it works best when outside of the formal classroom. On our journey, America is our classroom. It's our playground. Taking people on the road gives them permission to open up in ways they don't in their normal, usual, familiar settings. So I find that when I take the teenagers on the road, after a few days, their shoulders relax and their minds are open. They say what they think, not what they think I want to hear. They're open to meeting new people and trying new things. Part of my core educational philosophy is to show that there's something to be gotten from everything if you look and investigate enough. For example, in Montgomery, Alabama, we stopped for lunch. Now, on its own, we were teaching about the local culture by having some great Southern fried chicken. But I believe it takes just a little extra to make something ordinary extraordinary, by finding out that the person who owns the restaurant also has a story to tell, and everyone walks away with a tremendous life lesson.
At one point in time, I tried to commit suicide. I thought life wasn't worth living, just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I used to tell people all the time about my restaurant, what it was gonna look like, and I was gonna have this restaurant. Then nobody believed me. And for the first time, it didn't matter who believed, I believed. I believed that, hey, with me and God, I could do anything. I dare you to dream. I dare you to dream.
Bishop Woods, who was one of the main leaders who marched with Dr. King, brought us through a park where fire hoses were turned on Black people trying to rally for their rights.
So the leadership taught us to be nonviolent and to have love even for those who were considered as our enemies.
It's definitely harder to take a beating and not fight back and to just count on being successful in your mission.
Now, one of the things that motivated us to move on in the movement as we protested against segregation and injustice was singing. There's power in singing.
He sang songs that he sang with his brothers and sisters during the Civil Rights Movement. And by singing these songs, we got to go back in time a little bit.
Lord, I'm running, trying to make 100, 99 and a half won't do.
I love singing, and I always have, and I think it's a really great way to connect people.
Come on up to the front of the bus, I'll be riding up there.
It's just like the ultimate freedom of expression, not really caring what anyone around us thought in the park.
What y'all want? When y'all want it? Now! How much y'all want? All right. Some of you all are going to be leaders, and the experience that you are gaining going across this nation is going to put you miles ahead of a lot of people. They're getting a broader understanding of what the whole of humanity is all about. Using that knowledge, they can help to make this a better world.
We hired Billy to help us with 2 of our 11th grade and our 12th grade trips. It won't be long till people like Bishop Woods and Reverend Williams aren't with us anymore. So the fact that our students are gonna be able to get a walk away and have had those experiences meeting with those people is something they hopefully will never forget, because their kids won't have that experience.
Our type of experiential education, it runs counter to the culture we're living in today. We emphasize the importance of talking to the people you disagree with, and that's not easy. But I want the teens to see that's where the fun is. What's the point of only talking and listening to people who look like you, who talk like you, who think like you?
The stand that I have is that marriage should be defined as the union of one man and one woman. My brother is a homosexual. He just believes there should be no laws regarding marriage. I actually think laws regarding marriage are very important. Now, I want to make it clear, I come from a religious perspective on this too. You're going to have tough questions for me. I'm going to be tough back. I make them support what they think, and I expect them to make me support what I think too.
I asked him a question about whether he would support his brother getting married if that was in his interest.
I disagree with homosexual marriage. So yeah, I would disagree with that. But I wouldn't be angry at him. He's my brother, I love him. We're best friends. I'm not gonna sit around and ostracize him. How many of you seen those people, they would go to these funerals and very anti-homosexual? I find that incredibly hateful and wrong. It is absolutely antithetical to anything that I believe.
My views did not align with Jim Pfaff's views whatsoever, but I thought that it was an amazing experience to start to debate these issues with someone whose views are not remotely close to mine.
The fact is, as a society, we're actually having these debates and these discussions, and that's healthy, and we need to encourage that. So we'll disagree. That's okay.
He was able to communicate his points really well in a way that people who really disagreed with him were able to understand and be like, okay, that's fair.
After talking with speakers, it's great to get back on the bus and talk about it in our own peer language.
gay people can't have the opportunity to get married like heterosexual people can, that's a violation of civil rights.
If his brother was in love with someone, like, you're gonna say that's wrong?
I think that he made it seem like every heterosexual couple is a happy, stable couple.
He said the government should have a very limited role in people's individual lives. Yet he said that the government should prevent gay people from getting married. The government should save the institution of marriage.
On our journey, we meet with all sides of the issues. This was fundamental when I was creating the trip. After all, you can't truly know what you think until you've heard the other side. It doesn't mean you have to buy it. As Da Vinci said, nothing can be loved or hated until it is first understood. It helps us humanize the other, the one with the other opinion. It's not that they're necessarily wrong or bad, it's just that we disagree. So the participants test drive what they think and create their own opinions and not just what they're told. I think as a society, we'll be good as long as we keep talking with each other.
Guns don't have rights. People have rights. I'm a lobbyist, and you know what? I make no apologies for it. There's lots and lots of people here in the state of Utah that have guns. We have one of the lowest crime rates in the nation. In fact, I think we are the #1 low on gun crime rate. So how is that? You put more guns into the mix and crime rate goes, I don't know how it works, but it does work. It's not a gun problem, folks. It's a societal or cultural problem.
I was kind of in the gray about the issue of gun control. I knew that school shootings were a problem and they were on the rise, but I also thought that there was some merit to having a gun for protection.
Law enforcement, sad to say, we know by sad experience, are not the first responders.
Sandy Hook, I was in my 2nd or 3rd year of teaching, and that could be me huddled with my students, scared out of our minds, not knowing what to do. And so that was when I took the class and got my concealed carry permit and went out and bought a gun. And so from here on out, I've always thought, what if?
If it saved one life by having a teacher armed there, it would make all the difference in the entire world to the mom and dad of that little kid that wasn't killed.
It's not really plausible to confiscate 275 million firearms from Americans. What we're trying to do is keep the weapons out of the hands of the people who shouldn't have them.
As a lobbyist, I actually develop a great number of my talking points and white papers straight from the questions that come from these kids. I really want the kids to not take my word for anything, to go back and look it up, and then make a more informed decision. As I look out on that group of kids, these are going to be the future leaders. These are going to be the future representatives, House leaders and senators, governors, from the local level up to the state and U.S. level. Thank goodness we have groups like this and kids like this. They're exceptional.
It's been 15 years since Columbine, and most of you were way too small to remember. 2 students at Columbine were shooting individuals, and they had planned this for over a year. When police came, engaged them, they ran into the school, did more shooting, but in particular, they went into the library. My son, Daniel, was under a table, and they have a recording of what happened in the library that day. It's the worst thing that a parent can go through. Hearing the shot that killed my son.
They did nothing wrong to deserve what happened to them, and it can happen to anyone.
2 weeks before he was shot at Columbine, Daniel relayed to me something he had heard talking with students in the debate class. He said, "Dad, did you know there were loopholes in the Brady Bill? Brady Bill is a national law that requires that you have to pass a background check before you can buy a gun at a gun shop." 2 weeks later, he was killed with a gun that was purchased through a loophole in the Brady Bill. And I became the spokesman for that campaign. I do it for Daniel. And I do it literally walking in his shoes. These are the shoes he was wearing on April 20th, 1999. I wear them just on special occasions like this because I don't want them to wear out. And to show that I walk in his shoes. I walk in the shoes of anybody who's been a victim of gun violence.
I think seeing Tom Mauser's son's name there at the Memorial for Columbine made it much more real.
Within the outer circle of the Columbine Memorial was the inner circle, which had 13 plaques of all the victims of the shooting and a little bit about each victim. I actually was brought to tears because I was reading one of them, and it was talking about a boy who loved fishing and playing sports and hanging out with his dad, and I saw every single one of my brothers in that, and I saw myself and my friends, and it really brought the issue home for me.
I don't get the opportunity to go to schools to speak. I really like opportunities like this where I can speak to a large group of young people about this issue. And I like the fact that they go and they hear the other side.
Good experiential education should challenge people to go deeper and to expand their comfort zone. For this type of education to truly work, it's vital that you have the ability to reflect on it. So each night we have a check-in, a wrap-up. It's a chance for everyone to analyze, to contextualize, to synthesize what they've experienced and learned.
At the end of the day, when we were sitting in Garden of the Gods, I remember just looking out and seeing the mountains and the trees and the sky. I finally understood what it means to be proud to be an American. I'm a part of this, and it's a part of me as well.
So what you've done today is engage in advanced citizenship. You sat there and listened to people you agreed with and people you disagreed with. Don't give up what you think just because others around you don't think so. Be the one person that says, you know what, if I'm the only voice that you're going to hear saying this, that's fine. I want to be that one voice. While the overall journey is about empowering and inspiring the kids to give a damn by learning about history, politics, and activism, we also look to engage the whole being of the participant, the heart and the soul as well as the mind. You can't fully engage in the world if you don't take care of yourself. So we have programming and stops on the trip that help the teens engage with themselves. In Denver, we teach meditation and yoga to give the participants tools that help navigate the turbulent teenage years. One of my favorite stops is when we go see Zion National Park and the Grand Canyon to take in the natural beauty. But while on our hike at the Grand Canyon, we have everyone go and sit alone, looking over the rim. It really helps bring a perspective to their lives and problems in a way they've never had the time or ability to do, because of where they live and the schedule of their lives. We also have speakers that help address real-life issues, and this provides a roadmap to the teens for their journey ahead.
Somewhere in the month of December 1987, I got infected with HIV. It's all it took was just one encounter. First time. But the main reason I got infected was because I didn't believe that I was enough. My secrets in high school were that I think I'm gay, I don't believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What am I going to do now? How about tell the truth?
It's refreshing for someone to walk into a room and be there for you and not for themselves.
There was so much emotion, so much truth in what he said. He wasn't going for some agenda trying to get you to do this or that. It was like he was just saying, I am here, this is me, and he opened up entirely.
I'm the same as you. You belong. You are so completely loved. You are so much more than enough.
Everyone has these doubts of, are we loved? Do we belong in this world? Being in that room, not alone in those thoughts, was really powerful.
Each minute you have someone engaged, it's vital. So everything we do on our program services the narrative we are telling. Every place we go, every activity we do, discussion we have, even free time serves a purpose. So we assign a theme to the various cities on our journey. In California, the theme is power. In Los Angeles, we explore who has it, who doesn't, how do you get power, and especially with Hollywood, what is the role of perception of power? We also speak about various forms of power. And one of our stops is at a synagogue for recovering addicts to understand what has power over us, from drugs to eating, to the internet, to relationships, to even the way we talk to ourselves.
I'm an addict, I'm a criminal. 12 years old, I started drinking. Middle school, I started doing coke and ecstasy. My crimes progressed to armed robberies. At 15 years old, I made a family out of the friends I've been running around with. I was completely brainwashed that prison was the way of life. Nowadays, I see that there's more out there. I've been here for 5 months. I have 10 months sober. I've never been more happier than I am in my life today. With this program, with the thought that I could do better for myself.
What is the thing that you enjoy most about your sober life as opposed to when you were addicted?
Not having to watch my back, you know what I mean? Not having to wait, if cops are behind me, if I'm going back to prison soon, if I have nothing to worry about today. You know, I'm living a positive lifestyle.
So I'm the rabbi of the joint here. I'm also a recovering alcoholic and an ex-convict. The people you've heard speak, they all have one thing in common. That is that they believed the lie that they had to be whatever they weren't in order to be happy.
Scott said it, they said it, and many of the speakers have said it to you in various ways. And that is, you are enough. Right now is what I'll add to it. You're enough right now. Each of you is smart enough, good looking enough, capable enough. And tomorrow, add a little more to that. But the trick is, the rub is, you don't always feel it.
Billy's philosophy is to get these kids in the experience. Because what happens is, when you're in an experience, you actually see yourself as part of it. You don't separate. When you're learning in a classroom, it's about them, or it's about the book, and it's not really about you, and it doesn't touch you.
How many of you live within 2 miles of a coffee shop, Starbucks, whatever it may be? How many of you live within 2 miles of a grocery store? How many of you chose to be born to whom you were born to? Nobody here. Well, neither did the kid here, neither did the kid in Lower 9th Ward, in Harlem. The point is, we, and I include myself too, won what I call the genetic lottery. So the question is, if you made no choice, is your life any more or less valuable, or is the life of the kid from here any less valuable or more valuable than yours? Some of it's dictated, your access to opportunity is dictated by where you're living, where you're growing up, what you were born into. What kind of obligations does being born into opportunity mean? Or as Spider-Man puts it so eloquently, with great privilege comes great responsibility. And so what is the responsibility?
From Beverly Hills to South Central, only a couple miles, and it's completely different. We choose to ignore that difference because we don't want to see it. As an American, it's my duty to understand what's happening and understand what I can do about it.
The most powerful thing that you can do, become 18, you register, and you vote, and you participate, because the vote is precious, it's almost sacred. It's the most powerful, non-violent instrument or tool that we have in a democratic society, and you have to use it.
If we as young people want to bring about social change, what would be the best way to go about doing it?
First, establish that there is a problem. Gather the information. How are you going to go about it? What techniques or tactics? What is going to be your philosophy? Get people to share the vision, dramatize it, make it real. When people organize and become disciplined, you can bring about change.
My name's Rob Zaremski, and I won on Etgar 36, 2005. Since the day that I got off the bus at the end of Etgar 9 years ago, most things that we did and we experienced has a tremendous impact on my life. I work for a nonprofit organization, and everything that we do, everything is about giving back to your community and learning about people, getting your hands dirty. You can't have that experience unless you go out and you do it.
In school, we don't really learn about what's going on right now and the different sides of things, and I just think that's a really great way to see everything and understand everyone's points of view.
I love the idea of traveling around to truly experience the things that we are learning about.
Meeting with these people who are involved has really inspired me to actually do something as opposed to just reacting to these issues.
I got a phone call from a U.S. history teacher who told me he taught his class a brief lesson about the shootings at Kent State University in 1970. And one of his students raised her hand and said, "Hold on a second. This summer, I was on a program that took us to Kent State University." We meet with Alan Canfora, a survivor of the shootings. And he takes us around the campus and talks to us about the history and shows us where all the events happened and where he got shot, so they truly understand and feel what happened. And that student got up and taught her class for 20 minutes about Kent State. That's success. Taking the lessons learned on the road and being able to integrate them into your day-to-day life, that's success.
My name is Sarah Cohen. I am currently a rising senior at Middlebury College, and I went on Etgar 36 in 2009 when I was going into my junior year of high school. It was one of the best summers of my life because I learned how to talk to people and how to listen to people. And now that I'm in DC this summer, I'm working at a national security think tank. If you enter the foreign policy world, you're going to be working for administrations that you agree with and administrations that you don't agree with, and you're going to have to put politics aside.
We have this outlook at 17, at 15, at 16, what's going to be happening when we're 25? What's going to be happening when we're 30?
Before this trip, I've always felt like I'm a child. I can't really do much. But it's the first time I realized that I matter in the issues. I think that's one of the biggest gifts that I've got out of this trip.
Anyone can get on the bus and have this experience. You just need to find out what you're passionate about and simply get involved. My journey didn't end when the summer was over. It wasn't a stop sign by any means, but more of a green light. It was really just the beginning.
Whatever went down cannot be undone. Like a building crumbled or losing someone. Always tomorrow, the next rising sun, like the first morning train to leave the station. Go and shout your names, 'cause you are the ones who rebuild the ruins, who rise with the sun. Get your brothers and sisters who work their ass like dogs. They're the first ones who'll stand up for what's right when something's wrong. Get the microphone, preach the wisdom of the Lord. Grab your brother's hand, put down the sword. Go ahead and shout your name, 'cause you are the ones rebuild the ruin.
That's got to be like choose. Yeah, if Billy had to choose between taking kids on Etgar 36 and following Bruce Springsteen on tour, I think the educator part of him would take over. I think that he would go with Etgar 36, but he would do everything in his power to make sure that at some point over the trip, the kids are going to go see Bruce Springsteen.
Stand up higher, point your gaze straight ahead, like a lighthouse tower at your journey's end. What's left behind you are the seeds of change, like planting an orchard or turning the page. Go and shout your names, 'cause you are the ones who rebuild the ruins, who rise with the sun. Go and shout your name, 'cause you are the ones who rebuild the ruins, who rise with the sun, who rise with the sun, who rise with the sun.